So guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope everything's good wherever you are. Smash the like button, guys, on this video. Hit the subscribe button. Share the video as always. I appreciate all your guys' support. And let's get into the video. Guys, so I've seen rumors, obviously other people reporting that Canelo Alvarez could make up to 50 million. Like, there's obviously rumors. I've seen it on Facebook posts. I've seen other channels report this, but there's not been any official, source saying this, that Canelo Alvarez could make up to 50 million to fight Jermall Charlo. Now, we all know that Canelo Alvarez was initially talking to fight Makabu. And there's nothing confirmed yet. And I just want to make out that all these Charlo rumors may not be true. Like, we're hearing mumblings, and I think Mike Coppin just said that Canelo's in potentially a fight with him and Charlo could happen in Cinco de Mayo. Charlo also tweeted an Instagram post. So all of these things aren't really conclusive evidence, or we don't know for sure if they're gonna happen next. But I think generally when these whispers get out there, you know that there's things going on in the background, and there's mumblings going on. See, before we knew about Canelo's plan, we knew he wanted to fight Billy Joe Saunders, and then he was going to fight Caleb Plant because he wanted to be undisputed. So the plan was already set out. We knew who he was going to fight. But right now it's back to Canelo's old way, where we're kind of like what it was with Floyd. Who's going to be Floyd's next opponent? And now we're kind of saying with Canelo, who's going to be Canelo's next opponent? Well, he was originally there was a lot of talk about him fighting Makabu. I think that was what people thought that's going to happen. They thought that Canelo Alvarez he's going to fight Makabu. But what's happened in the meantime, that he may have scrapped those plans, and I'm just saying may because there's no guarantee that he's not going to fight Makabu. Is it the fact that is it the fact that the fans weren't happy, and he saw the reaction and he thought, okay, no, the fans don't really want to see this fight, and he's thought, you know what, we need to do another fight where it's going to be more fan friendly? Or is there been a lucrative offer that's been put? I don't really think Canelo would be worried about, listen, he's done a lot in the sport of boxing. And I think by fighting Makabu, if that's his goal and he wants to achieve being a 5-weight world champion, I don't think the fans, even though some of them might not be happy with who's fighting, I think if Canelo wants to achieve a goal and he feels by fighting Makabu, becoming a 5-division world champion, he's going to feel, happy about that. And that's going to be, it's his legacy after all. It's the way, he's viewed after all. I have no problem with that. Because Canelo's done a lot in the sport and he hasn't got anything to prove to anybody. So he can do what he wants to do to make him feel happy. But is it a case where Al Heyman has put a massive offer together in order to make the Charlo fight? And a $50 million payday for Canelo Alvarez would definitely make Canelo, think about other things, because I don't know how much he'd get paid to fight Alongo Makabu. Listen, I think Canelo would get paid a lot of money to fight whoever, but how much would Canelo get to fight Charlo? That's a massive fight, and 50 million is probably about fair, because it's a way bigger fight than the Caleb Plant fight. Apart from the fact that Caleb Plant was an undisputed fight, Charlo fight's much bigger. And as I said, I think this is going to do well over 1 million pay-per-view buys. This is a big fight, a big fight if this goes through. Honestly, I think it's a massive fight. But I want to talk a bit about Al Heyman. I think Canelo's relationship with Al Heyman is pretty good. I think Al Heyman and Canelo, the relationship that they had, making a Caleb Plant fight, I think it was quite smooth. Hence why I think Canelo will probably work with Al Heyman again, because I think I think he even said himself that Al Heyman was really cool, and the negotiations were really smooth, and they really liked it. Eddie Reynoso said that as well. So I personally think that Al Heyman probably wanted Canelo back on his platform, because here's the thing with the PBC. The PBC right now, they haven't really got guys that are doing big pay-per-view numbers. And I'm pretty sure the Canelo Caleb Plant did huge numbers, right? And they haven't really got anyone on their platform that is doing big numbers like that. When you think about it, even Wilder, who's probably their biggest star, but Wilder probably will only do big numbers if he's fighting Tyson Fury. Who else can, like, maybe Wilder Ruiz would be massive. That's one, if they could put that together. I think that could do some decent numbers. I'm not saying it's going to do crazy numbers, but that could probably do some decent numbers. But I don't know how well it would do. But I definitely think a Charlo Canelo fight would do over 1 million. So I can understand why Al Heyman would guarantee Canelo 50 million for that fight, because are their pay-per-view, or the model that they've got, they're putting a lot on pay-per-view. They're putting, you know, Ortiz Martin was on pay-per-view. You know, it feels like they're putting like all of the fights of any significance on pay-per-view. And like, I was shocked when I heard that Ortiz Martin was on pay-per-view. Like, and apparently that did under 25, just about 25,000 pay-per-view buys. I don't know how accurate that number is, but I was quite surprised that even did that many. How many people would buy like something like that? You know, or a fight like that? I was shocked. But the point I'm making is that, look, he's probably not making huge amount of profits on those shows. So when you think about a lot of these fights that are being put on, I don't know how much money they're actually making from it, because a lot of these guys aren't huge pay-per-view stars. And how many pay-per-view buys are they doing? For example, Errol Spence, Danny Garcia, how big a numbers did that pay-per-view do? And remember, Errol Spence and Danny Garcia won't be getting small money, they'll be getting big money. So how much profit did they make? Now, even with this Canelo Charlo, if for example it's $70 for the pay-per-view and it does 1 million pay-per-view buys, that's $70 million. If you're paying Canelo 50 million, then you've got to pay Charlo as well. You know, you might make a profit of maybe 7-8 million, but that in this current climate for the PBC may be a lot. I don't know how, you know, what they deem as successful revenue, you know, from a show, or successful profit from a show. But I think that's why I think there'll be a desperation from Al Heyman and PBC to get Canelo back on their platform, just because of the fact that they know how well Canelo would do for their business. Because I don't really think PBC have got fighters who are doing big numbers. They haven't, and I think their PBC are kind of like fighting in-house guys, and I don't really think they're doing big numbers at all. And I think that's why they want Canelo on their platform, and that's why they would be willing to pay Canelo something like 50 million to fight Charlo. Because it makes a lot of sense for them, right? It makes a lot of sense to get the biggest star on their platform, make huge amounts of money. I just think it makes a lot of sense. So you'd pay him a lot of money to get him on your platform. And that's why I think Al Heyman's probably willing to pay that kind of money, because I think they know that it'll benefit them. They'll be able to make a profit, you know, a big profit on that pay-per-view by having Canelo on there, because I don't really think their fighters are generating huge amounts of revenue and generating huge amounts of profit. And Canelo Alvarez, for me, would generate a profit for them. So that's why I think there'd be a desperation from them to have him back on that platform. And a Canelo Charlo fight would be massive. So that's probably why, if Canelo has scrapped the ideas of fighting Makabu, is probably because of the payday. And the fact that, you know, he probably views Charlo as a good fight, but a fight that he should win. And he probably thinks that, let me make 50 million and then I can always fight Makabu later. And Makabu has to fight a mandatory anyway. So maybe he fights Charlo and then he fights Makabu. Who knows what Canelo plans to do? You know, Canelo's his own boss. He can do what he wants. He can fight who he wants. You know, he's in control of his career. And rightfully so. He's earned the right. As Keith Thurman said, Canelo's earned the right to fight and pick and choose who he wants. He's earned the right. You know, he's you know, paid his dues. And now he can take advantage of that, you know. So I have no problem with Canelo fighting Charlo, Makabu, anybody, because I know Canelo's he's paid his dues. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see how this plays out. But that's what I basically think it is. That's why I think PBC would be willing to pay Canelo a lot of money for this fight, because I think they know the pay-per-view numbers are going to be huge. Simple as that. You know, I don't think no one would pay someone huge amounts of money unless they know that they're not going to benefit from it. Al Heyman knows that, you know, that this fight would do big numbers, you know, and Canelo always does big numbers. And you add Canelo Charlo, that would be a massive fight. Canelo Benavidez is another one that could potentially be another massive fight. But Canelo doesn't seem as... I think Canelo Benavidez is becoming a bit like Canelo Andrade, where Canelo and his team are getting a bit peed off with Benavidez and the way he's acting. I think sometimes when there's another guy in a position of power, and Floyd Mayweather did this to Amir Khan. Amir Khan was being... He wanted to fight Floyd Mayweather, but Amir Khan was being very loud about it, at times being disrespectful. Or Floyd probably thought he was being disrespectful. And when there's another guy in the position of power, by you keep prodding and poking him, the way he punishes you is by not giving you the fight. Right? So the best thing for Benavidez and Andrade was probably to be diplomatic and just wait their turn. But instead, I think what they've done is they've ended up pissing Canelo off. And Canelo now is saying, no, I'm not going to fight them. Well, he's definitely like that with Andrade. And Benavidez, for me, is heading in that same direction, because he's kind of... Benavidez is also saying some stuff that is kind of getting under Canelo's skin. You know, he said that, you know, Canelo's ducking me, doesn't want to fight me. Canelo should just vacate. You know, things like that, which I think have just kind of got under Canelo's skin. I will say this, that I think Canelo Benavidez in time could be a massive fight, and it could be a fight which makes so much money for Canelo Alvarez, where he may take that fight anyway, because it makes so much business sense for him that he may decide to go down that route anyway. I think with Andrade, I just get the impression that fight's never going to happen. Look, he's fighting Charlo. He's probably going to fight Charlo, I think. I think there's a good chance he's going to fight Charlo. Now, there are rumors that there's been offers sent to Charlo already. And the fact that Charlo put that up on his Instagram, that, you know, the biggest fight in super middleweight division in the world, I think that tells you that he's probably received some offers, and maybe they're just seeing if it makes sense, and then they'll probably get back to the team Canelo, and if they sign, I think that's it, we got a fight. It's going to be very, very interesting to see if this Charlo-Canelo fight gets finalized. And it will be interesting to see, like, there's a lot of people with different takes on this fight. But I'm very intrigued. But either way, it's a great fight. It's good for boxing. Anytime Canelo fights, and Canelo Charlo would be a huge fight. But yeah, I do think the PBC would want Canelo to fight on their platform without question, because they know how much benefit Canelo could have on their business, you know. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. And they have got a few fighters. Charlo's one, then they've got Benavidez as well. They've got a few fighters that potentially could fight Canelo. They've got two especially that, you know, are heavily linked to fight Canelo. So, you know, who knows, Canelo might fight Benavidez after, which means that would be another big fight for PBC and Al Heyman, and Canelo being on their platform again. So, you know, they could really benefit. And I think that's why they wanted Canelo to fight a 3-fight deal, because I think they thought if Canelo fights a 3-fight deal, we can get him to fight Charlo and then fight Benavidez after that, because they had the guys there. Canelo might end up fighting Caleb Plant and then fighting Charlo, and who knows, he may end up fighting Benavidez, but time will tell. I'm really excited about the Charlo-Canelo fight, because I like Charlo. I think Charlo's a good fighter. I think it makes for a fun fight. I think it makes for a fun press conference, even though I don't think Charlo's going to go after Canelo like that. But I think it makes it interesting. Charlo's a great character, and I'm looking forward to how this all unfolds. But yeah, leave your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Leave your comments in the comment section, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, share the videos, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.